for you.
Okay, thank you very much. So welcome everyone. I'd like to start with the following. It will be my first presentation based on the simulator we have in the software. So for the salespeople, it will be interesting to show this without any hardware connected. So in some cases, you will see over here that it's highlighted gels and manual capture will still be the same, but the gels will be disappearing from the system that SERVA is offering, and that's the GeneGnome. The GeneGnome is a system that can do Chemi only, so no other applications are used inside this system. It's fully dedicated to Chemiluminescence. It works with a 4 megapixel image resolution camera, and Mark already mentioned about the lens. The one we use has an aperture of 0.95. That means that it's a very wide lens, so it collects a lot of light, and it's fixed, so it's completely open. The quantum efficiency at the mentioned 425 nanometers is at the moment it's 73%, so that means that 100% of the signal is going to the chip and will be transferred to and translated to electrons to read out, and it's an amount of 73% out of the 100, so it's very sensitive for chemiluminescence. The cooling, to avoid all the hot pixels, let's say that way, is minus 57 degrees Celsius absolute. So the camera is really cooled down to quite a low temperature to make sure that you will not see any star field in your image. So it will be a nice picture, black and white, as it should be. And the system, since it's only dedicated to chemiluminescence, we made it a small system, and the maximum field of view, that means your maximum size of sample, will be 11 times 8 centimeters. That's the maximum size. So if we now go to the software, like mentioned, we have inside the home screen, we have gels, blots, and manual capture. That's because we use the software for each big system we have at Syngene. So this one will be limited to blots and manual capture. So if you like to capture an image, you go to blots, and you have the choice between a ChemiBlot single image, a ChemiBlot series, well, fluorescent blot not possible, so it's grayed out, a visible blot, and a stain-free blot. So if you go to the ChemiBlot single image, you click on it, it gives you a choice of dyes that we have implemented in the software, because the software works based on a database, and inside this database we have all the graphs of the light sources, of the filters, of all the dyes. So once you select, for instance, ECL, in this case it will not matter because it's never using any light source or any filter, but if it comes to a point that it's a more advanced system, you need a light source and a filter, and the software decides for you the best possible combination. So in this case it's ECL, so you select it, then you go to the point, do you have a visible marker, yes or no? If you say yes, it will also capture the visible marker and make an automatic overlay, so you will have 3 images in the end. That's what you will show. So if I go to next, it's going to the preview. So your sample is in there and it will show you a preview. Well, in this case it's a dark room and the sample is not visible, so you can switch on the light with this button. You see the light bulb. If I click on it, it becomes yellow, so the light switched on, and now it will close a little bit, and there it is. Here's your sample. It's positioned in the middle. It's okay. You're happy. If, for instance, you don't like to look at it with light, but you're not sure if there is any signal, if the experiment is okay, you can go here and get a Chemi preview. So what it's doing a lot of binning, adding together pixels to have a quick image to show you yes or no, there's a signal. So I click on Get Chemi Preview, calculating capture times quickly, and here it is. Poor resolution due to the fact that it's using binning, but you can see there's a signal, so you can continue with your experiment. So you say again on the arrow, next. Now it shows you this dialog box. I'll move this one. You can see faster speed or high definition. So the difference between faster speed and high definition is if you want a quantifiable image, so completely with the full resolution, you go to high definition. If it's just a matter of capturing an image and it's enough, you can sometimes go back again to fast speed, and it's doing some binning at the background and corrections, so you have a very nice image and also on a short term. So some competitors are doing it automatically and show you, okay, look, this is a nice picture, and they automatically did 3x3 binning. We give you the choice between full resolution or a choice of having a nice image that's good enough for you. So if I now say capture, it starts capturing the image. The capture time was 11 seconds, but you can see over here it's 35 now, but it was 41 seconds. Reason is capturing in a way two images, multiplexing them. See, here it is. First one is inverted because it's prepared for the overlay. So it will ask you to save this protocol. You can save this protocol. It will appear in your home screen, so next time you don't have to run through all these steps. You just click on your protocol and it's opening automatically in your preview image. But I will show you if I now save this one, and I call it ECL test. You can make it public. If you have multiple users, it can be blocked for the other ones. So image number 1 is this one. That's your blot. Image number 2 is with white light, your image of the visible marker, and this is the combined picture. So it's doing automatically already the integration of the two images, and you can save them all together. You can save the images as JPEGs, TIFF files, compressed TIFF files, bitmap, and the other possibility is SGD file. That's what we call a syngene file. But what happens if you save it as a syngene file? If I open this image and I click on this one, it shows you all the information about the image. So that means exposure time, aperture, everything that's connected. So that can be very nice if you like to duplicate your experiment maybe next year. You open the image, you can see the settings, and you can just duplicate it. If I now quickly go back to my home screen, you see over here ECL test. If I click on this one, I quickly run to it. It's your preview, so we know it's there. Yes, here's your preview. You're happy. You say next. In this case, the choice, we just say next if it's there. We say capture. Capturing the image with the visible marker, because we saved also adding a visible marker, so it takes a little bit longer. Here we go. That's picture number 1. If you decide I like to improve this image with the gray levels, you can just move this one around, and you can see at the background that there's more information. So the picture it's capturing, it's automatically making a nice picture for you, but you can still optimize it. Here's your zoom. You can zoom in to look at a particular spot. Here's your gamma control to make it nicer. If you want to invert it, you can just invert it by one click on a button. So quite easy and straightforward once you capture your and save your protocols. And if you like to do a next picture, just go to positioning, and it's going to positioning mode, and you can take a picture of the next one. If I go back again to home, there's another possibility to capture blots, is series. So if I click on series, this will appear. You select your reagent. You can select if you like to have a visible marker. In this time I just skip it. Number of images, if I say I like to have 5 images. Binning. In this case you can see it's a simulator because you're working with 4 million pixels and we created this one with another camera. But you will have the 4 million pixel camera. This one's very important. Add the contents of the previous image. That means adding the 5 pictures together. So the first picture, if I select for instance 10 seconds or 5 seconds, number 1 is 5 seconds. The second one is another 5 seconds added to the first one. And then the third one is added to the previous one. That's how it's building it up. So your total time will be 25 seconds because it's adding the pictures together. So if I go to next, you can use the same exposure for all the images. So in this case, I say 5 seconds. If I debox this one, you can run through each individual picture and change the interval times. So that's all possible. If I select this one, I say next. We go to positioning again. So you can select if it's there. Here's your image. So you're satisfied, it's in the middle. Okay. And we do capture. You will not have the question about time and quality because it starts automatically because you decided this will be my picture. If you do the single image, it will do automatic calculation of the best possible images that's quantifiable. It's not overexposed. In this case, you decide the exposure time, so there's no control over overexposing. As you can see, the yellow means the individual picture, the red means the total time. And if you look over here, it's 5 seconds and then it becomes 10 seconds. When it started, this one was also mentioning 5 seconds. But it's stepping back now. That's probably a mistake in the simulator software, but this one is 5 seconds. Then this one will, once it's captured, it'll say 10 seconds, 15, and so on. Here are all your pictures. You can save them all together in one folder. So next time you just open it, pick out the best one, save it as an individual, and you can store the rest. So you just pick out the one you like, invert it, minimize this one so you have the full space if you have a small screen like this, and you can optimize it if you like. Information about the image. If you move this one, you can see the gray levels. So you can see if it's overexposed, yes or no. So that's the part for capturing. So if you are working in a lab and you're doing the same experiment over and over again, you can also go to Edit. If you go here to Edit, there are a lot of possibilities you can do. It's rotating the image to make sure it's as you like it, in the middle and straighten out. Next one gives you annotations. So if you like to add annotations, so you first optimize it a little bit, it's a little bit brighter. And then I like to add annotations. You click on this one, you drag a box, you go here again. Oh, one moment, drag a box. Yes, and if you like to draw it, so here it is, I double click. There's a possibility to make it vertical. If I say OK, you can move it around. That's an old one. One moment. Is that the one that we used? Also vertical. Okay, so this one we can also move. And you put it over here. If that's a marker, for instance, you can make it smaller, wider. And if I like to have it in the color yellow, you just change it to yellow. I can add something else and then I'll show you the thing I really like to show you. Just say it like this. Go here again, double click, and I can move it. So if this is the text that you like to duplicate in all the images, so if it's maybe, I don't know how many boxes, text boxes you will have, maybe 20, you don't have to type them in all the time because there's a possibility to save your annotations. So if I save it, I call it test. Yes, and I open another picture, so I go here, and I open this one. I can say load annotations, load, click on this one. Oh, it was test, wasn't it? I think it was test. Open. There it is. Well, it will never be in the same position if you do a new experiment. So what you can do is you just click on this one and you can just drag it around. Oh, not like this, but like this. So if it's a little bit more to the right, you can just move all the annotations, but all the text is already in your image. You just click on it and you move it. And that's a nice feature, I think. You can add also arrows if you like. Change the color to maybe red. Have a circle, highlighting it. So annotations, it's a nice tool, and the nice thing about this software is non-licensed, so you can put it on any computer. So if you put it on your desktop in the office, you can just have a cup of coffee and do the annotations in the office, not at a lab next to the machine. So that's really useful. Other things we have, despeckle, crop the image, do effective pixels, so increase your resolution. We also have a 3D module, if you like, for presentations. Here's your image in 3D. I select the color. Here it is. So here's your image in 3D. You can zoom in if you like. So that's the things you can do in annotations. The other thing, if you go back again to the other position, just make sure that this one's back again to default. And here's your image. So that's in a nutshell, I think, the software that's controlling your unit. One of the things I like to tell you, if I close down the software now, there's a possibility to go to view images, because it will tell you still have unsaved images. So every image you capture will be saved in the background during that session. So they do not disappear. So if you forgot to save it, it's still there. So if I click on view images now, here they are. So you can still select them and you can save them. If you go back again to home, what else can I say about the software of the main things you have here? You can go to settings. That's one of the nice features. If you have a lab and you're afraid that you lose images if the power shuts down or whatever, we have a possibility to auto-save the captured images. So you can store it somewhere on the server if you select it, and you can select, okay, I like to have it as year or day, month, year, hour, minute, so you can always find them back somewhere. So that's one of the nice features I also like very much. I think this is in a nutshell the way the system works. You start making the protocols, and in the end you only have the protocols over here. So it's a matter of just clicking on your protocol and it starts doing the things you like that you selected in the software. So if there are any questions, you can send them to Mark Seidler. And if it's complicated, I don't think so, you can always ask me to support you. So I think this will be about my short trip through the software, except for one thing before I forget. If you don't like all the nice automatic features, we always have manual capture. Let's see if it opens. But you need to do all the things manually. This will be different in your system because we don't have a zoom and we don't have an aperture setting because it's completely open, the aperture, and it's a fixed position. So this is your system without this one. But you can select your light if you like to have light. Well, in this case we don't have all these modules, we just have the white light. Which filter you like? Well, we don't have a filter in this system, so it's for you mainly. You do a live preview manually, you select the time, let's say 5 minutes for a blot capture, and it's doing it like you say. So I don't think you will use manual that much. This one will be the most important. Go here, create your protocol, save it and use it, and forget all about this part. You don't need it anymore. So thank you very much for your attention. I don't know if Mark still has to add things to the conversation and the meeting. So maybe I'll leave it over now to Mark.